Meet Bob. Bob is a real estate investor assessing two different real estate opportunities that cost the exact same amount of money to purchase. One needs a little bit of extra work than the other, but they both seem like fantastic deals. The decision Bob is trying to make between the two is a big one because he's investing his entire life savings and he doesn't want to make a mistake and risk losing it all. Bob likes the idea of investing, but in his mind, the faster he can make his money back, the more secure he feels. Of course, Bob loves the idea of making money on his money, but having his entire life savings tied up into a deal is really stressing him out. When assessing these two properties, Bob's biggest factor in making a decision is the speed at which he's going to be able to get his money back. So how does Bob assess which property will be better at returning his money the fastest? He can use something called the internal rate of return. The internal rate of return, or IRR for short, helps an investor see what the average return will be on an investment when the time value of money is factored into the equation. In other words, because money today is more valuable than money in the future, the property that allows you to make money back the fastest, according to IRR, is the more desirable property. The IRR is the metric you can use to quantify the speed of your return. So when you're comparing several properties to one another, you can see with more clarity which one is better from the standpoint of returning your money to you the fastest. Now, going back to Bob, the value he places on the time his money is invested is mostly out of insecurity of losing it. But for most people, the time value of money is more about how money invested today can potentially make a lot more than if they invested the same amount of money in the future. Things like opportunity cost and compound interest play a huge factor in proving that money today is more powerful than money in the future, and most investors don't want to miss out on that. When it comes to calculating the internal rate of return, the formula gets pretty complicated, but luckily there are tools out there like Excel and Google Sheets that have IRR calculators already built into them for our convenience. Going back to Bob's properties, let's say both property 1 and property 2 cost $80,000 to purchase. With property 1, Bob can start making money right away, but property 2, it's going to take 2 years of renovations before it starts turning a profit. To keep the numbers simple, let's say property 1 makes $10,000 a year. Over a 10-year period, Bob's going to make $100,000. With property 2, Bob doesn't make anything for the first 2 years, but then in year 3, he starts making $12,500. From year 3 to year 10 at $12,500 per year in profit, Bob would also make $100,000. However, when you factor in the time value of money, property 1 has a higher IRR because it makes money back faster. To be exact, property 1 has an IRR of 4.28% over a 10-year period, whereas property 2 has an IRR of 3.54%. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Something that you might find interesting related to IRR is compound interest. If you want to learn more about it, click on the video at the top right corner here, and we're going to go over it in more detail. I'll see you there.